This is such a weird story that we've seen about this comic creator R.E. Burke, who was in the U.S., was trying to go to Canada, couldn't get back into the U.S., got detained, and they claimed there was no problem with her visa and everything was fine. She was just harassed for being a queer, feminist, whatever, right? And so this has become a championship cause of the left, and yet now the person's banned from visiting the U.S. for 10 years. Now, clearly something was wrong. Clearly something was not in order, and clearly something was a big deal. Otherwise, it wasn't the case, but we're never going to get to the heart of what actually happened because the media is going to lie about it, of course, and they are. They're trying to make this person out to be a martyr because they're all panicked. Now, yesterday we covered Larry Hama is throwing a fit about crossing over the border. He says, I don't know if I'll be able to get back in because I'm Asian. But you have a U.S. passport. You're a U.S. citizen, you moron. And so this person is not a U.S. citizen, and I believe she overstayed her visa. I believe she was working when she wasn't allowed to work, didn't have a work visa, had a tourist visa in the United States. And so she was skirting the law intentionally, trying to do one of these like backpacking find yourself trips that these weirdos always do. And of course, that didn't work out well for her. So let's get into this in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here as we talk about all things in the culture. The comic industry is completely screwed up, guys. Like I said, they're trying to make this person into a martyr and try to make everything about like this, like, oh, Donald Trump stuff that's going on right here. And we're fighting against it. And so we've been blacklisted from the industry over here for a long, long time, but I've been creating books successfully anyway, thanks to viewers like you. This is my newsletter. Sign up in the description below. 3 free books, guys, including a graphic novel, full graphic novel, all for just being there. And of course, that way I can stay in contact with you when my new books come out. I've also got an online store in the description below with all of my books. So I love readers. I don't really like to play the collecting game and all that stuff that a lot of the comic industry has been built on. I've been building it on readership, which is way more important, much more sustainable for the long term. That's something that the comic industry forgot how to do. So you can check out my books here. I recommend Overmind or Deus Volt as starter books if you want to support our channel. Thank you for reading. It's in the description below. And read some books from people who don't hate you, because the comic industry definitely does. All right. So Jenny Clean is a friend and neighbor of comic book creator R.E. Burke. And the British comic creator was detained by U.S. Customs in harsh conditions, whatever that means, for 19 days, whose experience rewrote the U.K. government's advice to tourists going to the USA. Oh, no. And has ensured that there are fewer U.K. guests at U.S. comic conventions this year. Jenny interviewed her and wrote about her for The Guardian newspaper yesterday. The Guardian is one of the worst newspapers out there. This is clearly a propaganda piece, anti-U.S. propaganda piece, anti-Donald Trump propaganda piece, and we cannot believe any of the details that they're talking. She wasn't thinking about the dismal state of U.S.-Canada relations when she handed her passport to a Canadian border official. So, by the way, she was not allowed into Canada. They said nope. And by the way, this is her passport. It's not a U.S. passport. It's a U.K. passport. And Canada told her no, that she didn't have the proper authority to come in. So obviously there's a red flag here. She didn't have things in order. She didn't do things well. And she was not paying attention right to Canadian law. So this is what happened. Canada refused her entry. But this is not the story. The story is the U.S. So she went back. They brought her back to the U.S., who then, when she was on her way back to the U.S., got flagged also. So obviously there was an issue going on here that the Border Patrol was paying attention to. She checked that the work visas were only required for paid work in Canada. She had months to plan her trip. She would have applied for a work visa if it was necessary, she says. Apparently it was necessary, and she didn't do it. And that's it. Canadian officials told her she needed a work visa so she could apply for one from the U.S. and come back, they said. 2 officers escorted her to the American side of the border. They talked to U.S. officials. Becky doesn't know what was said. So obviously they said, hey, she's planning on working in Canada for a bit. She's been working in the United States. What happened was they then looked and said, oh, she doesn't have a work visa in the United States. So she's been working here illegally and then getting away with it, and she only has a tourist visa. So that's it. And so it's just an honest mistake, and they treated her so poorly. Oh, no. Well, yeah, she skirted the law, and that's exactly what happened. So she said she had an interview to sign. It was long, lots of pages. She saw the officer summarize everything she'd been doing in the U.S. as work in exchange for accommodation. I remember thinking I should ask him to edit that. Well, she didn't. And so she just she hadn't eaten all day, so she just signed it. Okay, so she admitted a signed document that she did work in exchange for accommodation and needed a work visa and didn't have a work visa. So therefore, she's an illegal worker in the United States who is here, and it's a big problem. I mean, honestly, this is so stupid of her. But look at how she takes no responsibility, and this is exactly what it's all Donald Trump's fault. No, it had nothing to do with that. You violated the law. And then Canada said no, and then the U.S. was like, okay, this is what happened. So then they locked her up, as she should be. So she said, I was shackled, put in the back of a van. I think that just means handcuffs. Whatever, I had no idea where we were going. It was bumping in the darkness with the handcuffs on. Oh, geez. Yes, look at how they make it emotional, right? She was made to change into standard issue underwear, yellow top, and trousers. Officers took her away, her personal belongings, measured her height and weight, made her pose for a mugshot, and assigned her a number for alien, because she is. And then when people asked about her arrival, they told her they couldn't help, and they worked for the GEO, a private company contracted with this. Now, she was held for a few days, and she said she was just a tourist, only been in America 1 month. I want to go home. Can you help? And so they, of course, take a little bit of time to deal with things because they got a lot going on right now. This is the first time any of these agencies have actually enforced these laws in decades. And so finally they are. And so they've got a big backlog, and she has to go before a judge. And so she has to wait for a judge. Now, she waited for a judge for 19 days and eventually was just let back to England. She raised a huge amount of money on a GoFundMe on this. Her GoFundMe was way more than the expenses that were incurred on this. So she grifted off of it. Now she's grifting with the media about it to sell her comic books and the like. And this is all because she violated the law, both Canadian law and U.S. law, because she was working for stay. And she was pretending she wasn't working, just being a tourist. And when you're a tourist, you're just supposed to actually just, send money to the U.S. That's exactly what a tourist visa is for. So, of course, all these media organizations picked up the story, right? And they made her a big victim. And that's exactly why people like Larry Hama are flipping out right now, because Larry Hama, has to make it about a race thing. We covered this yesterday on the channel. It's so ridiculous. And so he canceled going to a Canadian convention because he's reading stuff like this from Bleeding Cool, which are propaganda outlets who don't actually tell the truth about anything. And the fact that this woman didn't have the proper visa and was an illegal alien here and was causing problems for even Canada wouldn't allow her in. They really downplay that because Canada is good people. Justin Trudeau, right? And so since they downplay that element, he believes that there's going to be a problem for him coming back into the USA. So you see how this propaganda creates this psychology where these people just hyperventilate themselves into even crazier stuff. And so he canceled a comic convention on this while this woman is making money off of this and becoming a famous person off of this, all because not of her comic book output and her work, but because she caused her own problems and made herself a victim complex. And that's where we are. And the Guardian newspaper loves to lap this stuff up. I was a British tourist, and then I was detained, shackled, and sent to an immigration detention center. Oh, wow. So sad. So next time, get a work visa. Don't try to work in the United States and Canada, that's what they keep not telling you, without the proper documentation, and then you'll be fine. But that's going to be 10 years from now because, you do these kind of things, try to skirt the law, we don't welcome you back. All right. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Please check out my books, guys. Made in America, my friends. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you, of course, as readers. And on top of this, sign up for my newsletter because my newsletter is where it's at. You get 3 free books. We're going to have 9 graphic novels coming out in short order that I want to share with you. It's amazing stuff. Get the stuff from people who don't hate you here. The comic industry hates you completely. We are the real alternative, and I appreciate you being here.